Hello, everybody. Welcome to TinaTalks show. It's me, your host, Adamwachiku. Thank you so much, audience. If this is your first time of coming to TinaTalks show, I want to say thank you so much. You are welcome. And if you are a returning guest, it's a pleasure having you come back all the time to continue to support me on this platform. Like I've always said, TinaTalks show is a platform that is designed for you. Don't even think in a minute that you haven't got something to say or to share to the world. Listen, those experience, those knowledge, those wisdom, those things that we have learned, that you have learned over the years, that life has taught you, that is actually what the world is looking for. Because you see, when we share our story, we are encouraging somebody else. Not only are we impacting on other people's lives, we are also healing in the process. You see, a lot of times, like I've always said, we worry so much on sharing properties as legacies, money, material things. We worry, we struggle. Yes, they are all important, but what is most important I've come to understand in life is the legacy of knowledge, legacy of wisdom, legacy of experience. When we pass this on to anybody, to our children, to the community, to the society, we are passing what I call the best legacy, because that is what will motivate, encourage, and empower the people around us. And this is exactly what my next guest, all the way from United Kingdom, London to be precise, he's going to be sharing his amazing experience, his knowledge, what he has found, his vision for the world today. He will be sharing this with us. But before that, I'm going to say, let's just take a break, okay? And I'll bring him up for you. Yes, welcome back, audience. Without wasting much of our time, my next guest is a national health service worker. Now, his name is Mr. Abdul Wahab Seisay. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. He is going to be correcting me should I have pronounced that wrongly. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to bring him up all the way from United Kingdom. Here we are. Yes. Mr. Abdul Wahab Seisay. Did I pronounce your name very well?
95%.
Please, can you correct me, the audience? I apologize. He's going to introduce himself and he will better explain and pronounce his name the best way, that, the right way, the way the mom and dad calls him. Now, thank you so much, Mr. Abdul. It's a pleasure having you come to TinaTalks show. I know you are a very busy man out there, but you created this time to share what I can't wait to hear from you. It's an amazing topic today. I left that, last minute because I want to shock the audience with what the topic is all about. So, first of all, can you, welcome to TinaTalks show. Welcome. You are welcome.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. TinaTalks show, Sister Ada, for your invitation, and for the correction. You don't need any correction, to be very sincere. I was only trying to be humorous. It's Abdul Wahab Seisay, and a lot of people will usually struggle with the Wahab, and you hit that on the nail.
Did I? Clap for me. Round of applause for me. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes. Thank you for that. Can you introduce yourself to the audience for those of you who don't know you? Yes, Abdul Wahab Seisay, but who is Abdul Wahab Seisay?
Abdul Wahab Seisay is DJ Little, the Mozis, community ambassador, community champion, a father, a husband, a national health professional service worker, frontline worker for the infection prevention control, somebody who's passionate about health and well-being, somebody who was growing up an amateur footballer, somebody who feels that sitting down one place for 1 minute will actually end his life. So I've kept myself busy so that I can't sit still. When I sit still, I have to be busy, like doing what I'm doing now with you, being interviewed live. So the only time I rest is when God says it's time for you to sleep. And then I go to bed and I pray to God. I've woken up very, very healthy as well in the morning. That's how I tend to rest anyway.
Thank you so much. You are obviously very busy in the community. There's no doubt about that with all these things that you just mentioned. Yes. Now, the topic that we're going to be dealing on today, looking into, is one that I was opportuned the other day to watch one of your amazing information, motivational or educational video of a topic that I found very, very profound. And I thought, you know what? I think the wider audience, I would want you to educate my audience on TinaTalks show more about this area of abuse to the deceased. Now, why I found that very fascinating is that I've never thought about it in that way. Like, I've never looked at this area. So please, what is this? What is this abuse? Because we hear about abuse, people all the time, conference, seminar, event, talking about abuse, how to stop abuse, how to prevent abuse. We have different kind of abuse. We have, physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, all sorts of abuse. We look at it externally. We look at it, more psychologically. But you have managed to look at it more in depth. And that is why I'm fascinated by it. The abuse of to the disease. Can you tell us what this is, please?
Thank you so much, Sister Tina. I have to say, like this, I am moved the fact that it's generated some interest in the community locally, as well as the non-Sierra Leonean community, and the likes of yourself that is come up to your attention. And you touched on something which you said, there's been a wider discussion about abuse. We all see the common types of abuse, such as domestic abuse, psychological abuse, and the various abuse. But all of these abuse are related to those people that are alive, the living, so to speak. Whether it's even animals have been given more rights in terms of talking about animal abuse and all of that stuff. But nobody, not around my own consciousness, not around my own surrounding, has ever discussed or have a conversation to say the disease will be abused or the disease can be abused. And so I had to put a microscope into it, and it's not a flash in the pan conversation that I just decided, so okay, I thought about it overnight, let me just discuss. I've had it for over years based on what I will discuss on going further. I've got real life examples to bring forward, and that's why I decided to put a microscope into it and then research it properly to make sure that my information is going to be validated once I come out with it. And that's how it happens, basically.
Thank you so much. But before Mr. Abdul Wahab Seisay came about this topic and this vision, we want to know, I don't know about you, but I want to understand a little bit background of Mr. Abdul. Now, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like you're growing up, because we want to understand you a bit. So tell us, do you have siblings, brothers, sisters, and all that? Tell me, how was it like growing up? Did you grow up here or?
Yeah, a bit of both. So the first 18 years of my life was spent in Africa, and after that, I've lived my entire adult life in Europe, mainly in the UK and Ireland, so to speak. And yes, I was one child. I was a one child from a mother for 22 years before my sibling, my younger brother, came to my mother. However, to my father, there are 5 of us, and I'm still the eldest. And so I grew up in a large family where, as you know, in Africa, sharing is caring. And then if you're late, you lose. So to speak. So we all grew up where we have to eat. So I am one of the very few Africans. I don't hide it. I never had a challenging young childhood being raised up where some people will say, oh, well, my childhood was rough and everything. I was opportune to have a good foundation as an young boy growing up. I was educated in good nursery, primary, secondary education, but also been given the opportunity to be educated in the UK as well, where I came in, retake some of my GCSE subjects and continue into higher education. Had the opportunity to work into myself and develop in my professional career, where I represent in the National Health Service now. So I can't say I had a very difficult childhood. And also coming into entertainment industry, my mom's cousin gave me the opportunity as a young boy to become an apprentice as a DJ who was already an established, successful DJ. So that's where it happened at the age of 19 in my life. So that's when entertainment was born into me. And I carried on.
Was it here or in Sierra Leone?
In the UK. In the UK.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that, and I had about 4.5 years apprenticeship, and then going up with one of my my first friend in the UK, my Nigerian brother. I have to always big him up. Tosin Owasanoyi is a lawyer now by as a legal profession. We teamed up, we formed our own DJing group, we started doing our own thing, and then worked into develop into community relationships, being engaged in so many Selenian and non-Selenian organizations. And I felt that one of my key strengths was always giving back to whatever I've learned, whether it's professionally or whether it's from an entertainment and an art form. So I've always given back, and I've always had people around me to share. And also charity has been one of my foundation. I've always thought, how can I help other people by either donating or making them get involved into raising funds for various. That's really what I can say about myself. I've been involved in so many, and one of the most important thing that I'm proud of everything that I've achieved, was actually being recognized by the Metropolitan Police as a community ambassador. So I was one of the community ambassador program during 2012 to 2016, working with the Met Police to mentor and support young people in difficult and challenging family circles.
Amazing work. Amazing work cut out for you out there. You know, yeah, it's quite. You see, the reason why I like to look at, I kind of, so to say, turn my guests to look back, is just so we can understand a little bit their background and what it was like and things like that, because it's very fascinating. It's quite good that you had that upbringing that allowed you to kind of like flourish the way that you are flourishing right now. Good education, even though you grew up, in my side of, we say, polygamy, mom as the only child, of course. I mean, come on, the only baby at some point, the only child at some point. Of course, you had it, so which is a good privilege, that you had. So when the other ones start coming in, so what happened? Did you feel threatened?
Oh no, because it was it's magic. I have to say, I was never threatened. Because at the time, either by coincidence, either by nature's gift, I was about to become a father myself. So there was a mysterious way where my mother was pregnant and my girlfriend was pregnant at the same time, even though there was a timeline. So obviously,
are you serious?
So yes. So my younger brother and my son are age mates. So
Wow.
That's how much distance in terms of the age
Oh
between
my
my younger
God.
brother and my son. So just about the time I was becoming a father, to be claiming the responsibility of my own, my mom was pregnant, and she was a matured parent at the time. Who I have to say, it was a blessing from God, because she wasn't expecting it. With my stepfather, they were not expecting. But it was a gift from God, so they embraced it. They took it, and then there's 8 months between my younger brother and my son at the time. So
Wow.
most people
So it's
have
like
said, from an African point of view, most people have said, well, you're selfish. Only when you wanted to be a father, that's when you released your mom. I have to say, maybe yes.
oh, amazing. You see, that is very, very interesting. Very, very. Thank you so much for sharing that part with us. You know,
Thank
it's
you.
such amazing. I love to look back. I love to look back because sometimes I said, just like you said, you know, it's a blessing from God. You were not expecting it, and it came like that. And probably your parents were not expecting it anymore after so many years. And then it happened. You know, when we share things like this, for me, it's actually put God on a spotlight. You understand? It puts God on a spotlight. You're able to see where God has been with us. You know, it allows us to see, wow, you know, I've been blessed. You know, I've come a long way, and it allows us to appreciate who we are today. Thank you so much, Mr. Abdul, for sharing that part with us. Audience, I call him Mr. DJ Mighty. That's what I call him. It's been a great time. You know, we've always had a great time before now. Yes. Now, like you've already explained about, you know, how you come about looking at the area of the abuse to the disease. Now, for somebody who doesn't understand what you mean by this, what is this abuse to the disease? Can someone who is dead be abused?
Oh wow, wonderful, good question. And I think that's the question I got asked once the video went out and released. And a lot of people are saying, well, in our local dialect, they say, well, the person don't die, I don't go abuse her.
Exactly, yeah. Person die, person don't die. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So how can they be abused? So, and I think one of the common themes is, as a young boy growing up in Africa, and or growing up in Sierra Leone, you are experienced, or you see so many family members passing away, and sometimes some of these family members are of affluent position, where they have either wealth or assets, and sometimes even if they're poor, they don't have it. You'll find out people will come from all directions, either from the villages or from the inner circle of the family, and everybody wanting to claim certain rights, ownership, either to the assets or to even the physical body, which is the corpse of the deceased person. Everybody is making that decision, because, as you know, in religious sense, where we say the dead cannot talk for themselves, no longer can they defend themselves. So it was from that context that the dead cannot defend themselves. That's where this conversation was founded, to say, well, if my person or my family members passed away and they have not the ability to defend themselves, and so many of those decisions that are being made around them, and which may not favor, as long as that decision is not in favor of that deceased person, in my opinion, in my basic education in understanding abuse, that's an abuse. So that person does not have to be alive to be receiving that form of decision, those decisions which are not favorable to them, for it to not to be seen as an abuse. It is an abuse, because you're making decisions, or we are making decisions that may not be favorable to that person. And in these days of human rights, where we are trying to put in every human rights decision through the microscope, and understanding what's my rights, what's your rights, what others' rights are, why not give the privilege to somebody who has also passed away? But also the foundation will then come back at that very deceased person, which we will talk about at some point in this conversation, as to why are you being abused? How have you been abused? Because maybe the failure to put things in place.
Right. Yeah.
Is what I call put your house in order. As you put your house in order, will this abuse be taking place today?
Yeah.
So that's the
Yeah.
foundation.
I mean, see, I see this as something that will go very, very far because it's not said enough. It's not even been noticed. Just like you said, in our African community, we tend to look at it. Yeah, if somebody die, you die. No, if somebody die, yes, you die. But remember, before you die, there's so many things you may have acquired. There's so many things you may have. All the time you spend on earth, like properties and things like that. Once you die, you are leaving people behind. So what happens to those things that you have struggled all these years to build? So it's something that I can't wait for you to explain, because audience, he will be breaking down this for us in such a way that at the end of this conversation, I'm sure there is going to be something that we're going to take from here. Now, going forward, what actually motivated you to want to do this? Did you at any point experience yourself or somebody who close to you, family or friend? So what was the motivation for this for you?
So thank you for that. So I think in everything we do in life, and there is that which is called experience, and experience will lead you to learn lessons. And what I wanted to do after this conversation, I will go on to sharing something which I put out many weeks ago before this particular topic, and it was down to saying basically the very foundation of abuse, where if you experience something which is either poor or good, it teaches you a lesson. The lessons that you learned there makes you become better or worse at it based on your reaction. Your reaction is then interpreted based on how you either act or counter react to that. So I then placed that, and then that was not a video share, that was just an audio and a text, and everybody was like, wow, how did you manage to break it down like that? So I said, so the lessons I have learned from the experience which I have gained has taught me how to either act or to react, which means I can either choose to either walk away or fight another day. And so there's always the option to do things in life. So as a result of that, this is where abuse is coming into. The abuse towards the disease has become based on the decisions which were set as a foundation for the deceased person, who has either failed or placed those foundations together. So as a result of that, we've seen abuse in various ways, in the form of religious abuse, family disputes, welfare or assets, financial, or the very most important thing, child or children. You understand? Those are the list of abuse which we will look at in this conversation. And yes, I'm quite happy to get my teeth into it.
Yes, because it's very important. Thank you so much. Now that you've just mentioned, because I was just going to ask, look at the area you just mentioned, religion abuse, cultural abuse, children and everything. Because what I want to understand is how can that happen? Is it when it's time to share the properties, and who makes, especially when the disease, it may be a sudden death, they didn't see it coming, or or maybe they never had a chance to write a will. So how does this abuse happen? Is it in terms of sharing the properties, the children? If you can break this down for us.
Thank you very much. Yeah, obviously I mentioned it earlier. The list of abuse that I want to discuss with you today and the audience is we have the religious abuse, we have the family disputes, which also comes down to the siblings, and we'll explore on that. The welfare or the assets, or the financial status of the person, whether rich or poor, and then the inner circle, which I call the children or the child, if it's only a one child. And the religious or cultural abuse is key to the first decision which most family will make, whether this person or this individual was a practicing Christian, Muslim, or whichever faith, non-faith belief. And then if the larger family circle is of either, let's say, the mainstream decision, religious context for now, which is Muslim and Christian, they will be making that decision based upon what is in their own interest, not in the deceased. So that person could be a Christian person who has not really by birth is a Christian person, but doesn't really go to church. He understands the context of Christmas, Easter, and so on, but you don't see them in the church, you don't see them practicing, and they want to just be taken to the cemetery and be buried. And or alternatively, they may have met somebody who's a Muslim partner, and then the Muslim partner will say, well, look, my husband or wife has never been to church. I want to bury them as a Muslim, because I feel that even though they were not going to church, even though he was not praying with me religiously in the mosque, he understood more of the Muslim religion, and I would like to give him a befitting funeral by taking him and having a janaza prayer, so to speak, to be done on him.
Which could not be accurate according to the disease. We could be wrong.
Absolutely.
The fact that the disease was not attending church, maybe it's just that kind of a freelance person. Okay,
that's correct.
That happened to be married to a Muslim person, was not practicing. Now, for the person that to be thinking, oh, because she understood the concept of Muslim, I want to bury. It could be wrong. You see, having said this, that this topic, actually got me thinking. The decisions I made when we buried our dad. My dad, growing up, I've never seen my dad go into a church. Right? My dad, I've never seen him go. I took myself to church. I took myself to baptism because I love the concept of Christianity. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That time. So I was the only one going, leaving the house, and even I would get beaten up. Always don't, I'll run off to church and I'll come back and get in trouble. Yeah. So, but you see, when my father passed away, now the non-Christians, the tradition, they came up with burying him in a non-Christian way. Yeah. And then I said no. I declined that. I said no. I told them, I remember telling them, based on my own how I want it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm not going to say it in a different way. I'm going to be honest here, because in Christian way of burying, where I come from, you must buy cow. You must kill a cow. Yeah, you must kill a cow. So in Christian way of burial, you kill one cow. Okay? And then if you want to go the traditional way, which the family come up with, you have to kill two. Yeah, because they have to give one to certain person and people, and it costs more money. Yeah. And another thing, all those rituals, all those do this, buy this, kill that. So I don't know, I've never practiced it. So I felt like my Christian way is quite straightforward. So I made a decision that suits me. As opposed to probably my father would not want Christian burial, but I made a decision, and my eldest brother too was he's a Christian. We said yes, we are going to bury our dad in a Christian way, but they now said to us, but when your father was alive, he was not a Christian. We said to them, how do you know? Where we live, our father go to church. But the fact is, our father was not going to church. But we made a decision on his behalf. He probably crying right now, saying, why did you bury me this way? Do you understand? So it really got me thinking that, you know, I'm even starting to think about, I should start telling my children what I want before
So your story has just hit the first line, number one, which is the religious decision, where I have to brutally honestly say, yourself and your brother conspired to abuse your father.
You see,
yes,
that's what I'm saying. That we could have abused his rights.
Yes.
Because he didn't tell us. So so we end up making the decision on his behalf that might not be favorable or what he wants. So now the lesson there that I've learned in this process is that me now, I will have to make sure I tell my children what I want now.
Indeed.
You understand what I mean?
Please do.
I need to tell them now. You understand? Because otherwise, when I'm dead, there could be abuse. You know? Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah.
So I'm equally, thank you for sharing your story candidly like that. And it's just cited, as you and I have both agreed, that the religious rights of your father has been abused, whether he was a practicing or non-practicing, and that way. And the only way we can redeem this is, I will share that towards the end, how we can redeem ourselves if we feel that we've perpetuated towards abusing the rights of our deceased loved one. So the second thing I want to discuss is family disputes. If I may, is that okay?
Yeah, sure, of course.
So family disputes.
We need to understand all this. Yeah.
Thank you. Family disputes is the second. And by the way, these are not in order, and they can come in based on the dynamics of the deceased.
Yeah.
So and you tend to see some of us come from a larger family, some of us come from a smaller nucleus family. But however it is, when a person passed away, it presents one of the biggest challenges, because you have a network of authorities and authoritarians, and then obviously within the Afro-Caribbean, especially the African culture, you will have those who want to exercise rights based on their own earning power. So you may even have a younger sibling, but because they are into a stronger financial position, they want to be the one calling the shots, so to speak. Or you may have an elder person in the family who is the earning power, and it was the next best thing towards the deceased person, who was probably the breadwinner in this case. And they want to now rise up and call the shots in terms of who feeds who should stay where, who should not be staying where, why should we be doing this, how can we make sure that the deceased is either being taken to the cemetery within a week or within 2 weeks, or let's expand it and wait for 6 weeks, and we wait for all the family members to come together and congregate together. Or if you're Muslim, we can't wait for the next sunset, and so many and so on. But nobody is looking at the physical body, the deceased body, because there is no soul anymore. Nobody at that time, when the ranting, the noise, the communication, the heated meetings are going on in the house for days and hours upon hours, nobody's thinking and stop. No one. I want to challenge everybody now that's watching this clip. How many people, when a meeting is taking place in the home where a will has not been written down, because sometimes even with will, we've seen family members dispute and challenge it. But how many people, when the meetings are going on, has ever stopped and said, hang on, what did that say?
Exactly.
Would that want that? Did you ask mom?
Yes.
Did anybody talk to mom when she was sick in that last few hours?
Yes, exactly.
Nobody will ever in that. Whether you're 6 in numbers, whether you're 12 in numbers, nobody. I can say to your sister that would ask the question about the deceased in terms of the dispute, the family. Maybe the auntie who has not spoken to the other sister for 14 years, 15 years, 20 years, and that deceased person do not want them to come there. All of a sudden has flew 10 miles from the village, 20 miles to come to that. Maybe this person didn't. If I haven't spoken to you for 20 years, why would I want you at my funeral? Why would I want you at my funeral? Nobody saying, sorry, auntie, my mom said you can't come to my funeral. Or sorry, uncle, my dad said you shouldn't go over to me. Nobody. I know people are going to challenge this to say, well, after all, they're dead. It's time for peace. No, it's the right.
No,
it's the right.
It's not. Yeah, I agree with that.
Giving you food for thought.
Yes, a lot. So something just hit me now. I've heard a few people that just recently lost their parents. Yeah. And I've heard that there's one said that his dad said he doesn't want to be put in a mortuary more than 2 days. That he doesn't want to be put in a mortuary. Whereas, so because the father, bless him, he was old, so he made that decision. He said, please, when I'm gone, do not put me in a frozen somewhere. Bury me straight ahead, not more than 48 hours. Yeah. So when the father passed on, that was exactly what they did. You see some burial ceremony for months. The dead body is lying there in a mortuary, and we don't know how that affects in the other side of life. Just imagine, let's say for example, if it happened, depend on everybody's individual's beliefs. Let's say for example, if that person is not buried quick enough, their body will not be rested. Their body will not rest. So how long because the person did not have enough time to make that decision, or to tell you, do not freeze me, do not froze me up somewhere, until a certain time. So how long do you now think that this person will have to be on rest for months, waiting until the family come together, especially in a very large family where everyone's decision, had to come together before. So these are the things that we need to consider, because if, like I've already told my children, even that was when I listened to your video, I was like, I've already said something already. I think I have to think of something more to add to it. I've said to them, you guys are here. I live in UK. Yeah. If I pass, it is God's will that I'm here. So you guys are 98 or 99%, you're gonna be here. I want to be close to you. Yeah. So if anything should happen to me, please keep me close to you. You understand? Don't take me home. Just leave me here. I want to be with you people. So because when it happens, that's why you see family bringing, they will be demanding for the body. Now, the reason why I want to be with my children, because back home, nobody cares for me. Nobody cares about me. Nobody asks if I'm, nobody. I grew up in a family where I don't want to be there even in my dead. I don't want to be there. You understand? Because being alive, they never really cared. I was neglected. I was abused in all forms. So why should my body be gone? Why should I? Yes, somebody might be watching right now and say, but that is where you come from. You are taking one of my last of my key topic, but we'll get there still. But that is where you come from. But as far as I'm concerned, as a person, human being, as a person, I believe this earth belongs to everyone. I believe this earth that we live in, it does not matter the geographical part that you are, whether in Africa, whether here. God create everybody to live here. We move around as human beings. So whether being in spirit or in physical, we still move around. Yeah. So go ahead. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. And you're being candid and you're sharing your definitely your personal stories, and I appreciate that as well. So the next point I want to talk about is finance. Finance. It's really important in this segment because let's look at the average 2.4 family, African family. who will have the basic financial standing. Now, the key decision as to how well we're going to give a befitting funeral to the family, or how well we're not going to, it's one of the key strategies that causes that abuse of the rights or to the deceased to be starting to be made. Well, we don't have enough money. He or she never left this amount of money. So what we're gonna do? We need to make this quick. We need to make this low budget. We need to make sure that we get this out of the way. Or alternatively, this is a very affluent person who wants to has amassed so much wealth, but yet wants to have a standardized funeral, and then but yet, because of their wealth status, because of their financial status in society, the family wants to extinguish. I usually say that they want to put that out there so that the world can see that this person was as wealthy as they can be, and so we're going to make sure that we have a puppy show funeral. But in their time of when they were alive, even when they've amassed their money, even with their wealth successfully in their business, they never lived a flamboyant life. They never showcased their money. They never abused their wealth, so to speak. But why would you, if this person never abused their own personal wealth when they were alive? They used it in ration. They used it sensibly. They invested well. Why would we, as family, want to languish and abuse the rights of that financial status of that person by making funeral that are extravagant, that would last for 30 days and more? And
exactly, that's a good point.
Removing the rights. Or let's bring it down to the basic, where this person is absolutely of a poor family. They are poor, they don't have it, but yet they have children who they have to care for at a later part. And then the only amount of savings that they've got, the family members wants to throw that into the funeral. They want to
befitting burial.
Befitting burial, which is not really maybe what they were expecting at the time, because they just want to be sent home, going home in a very peaceful way, whereas in whatever finance is left should be invested around for other family members or put into better courses. All of that, these are taking the rights away, the financial rights away from the deceased, abusing the deceased because they're failing. And then we move on to assets, where the assets is there. And then you see family members claiming ownership even at the point of death, when the last breath is being snatched away. Everybody saying, oh, where Papa died, na me get it also. Or where Papa died, na me get it motuka. Or Mama's restaurant, and na me get a more. You understand? Everybody's asking, everybody's claiming to the assets, and then people coming from the network of the woodworks say, oh, your dad owed money, your dad owed this amount of assets, and yet nobody's asking, did dad or mom put things in place? Has dad said this asset, this home, in the home that we have today, the three of us will keep the left side of the house, and then my other younger siblings will have the right side. Nobody has the autonomy to understand who owns what in terms of the assets, and how can the asset be fairly or unfairly dispersed. But yet people are calling it as they are to fit their own needs, their own criteria, their own interest, and yet nobody's asking, what has dad said or mom said? What have they put into place?
There was something you said. Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't want to forget this. There was something you said when I, the other time I was privileged to speak with you. You mentioned about some circumstances where two people are dating, and not married per se. Maybe a stepfather comes in, or step boyfriend. Maybe boyfriend that come into the family, and they want to a single mother who have children. Now, because they've been together perhaps maybe for like 10 years, but not married, and they just living together, and something happened, and the children of the woman, or it could be vice versa, and the children of the woman, the reason why I'm saying single mother, because it's more, that power tend to be more prominent in a woman's circumstance than of the man. Now, if this happens, so what advice? Because most cases, the man will assume that position of decision making because everyone knows two of them together, and then they will go for the money, they will go for every asset that the woman may have. So if somebody right now is in that kind of situation, how can they deal with it?
So thank you. The key there is when I put this this concept out there, when I first spoke about it, the foundation was also around mainly deceased women who are being abused more. And I was going to talk about the last part, which is the children, and then I create the scenario. I don't know whether you want me to still do that or respond to this question.
Respond to this question.
Maybe
because I've asked it, maybe the audience will want to hear it. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. So you have exactly what you said, a cohabiting relationship where this could be the long-term partner. They've been together for a decade, and both of them have come with children. Maybe the man has come with one child, the woman has already got previously 2 children. They were never married. Well, you had that little bit of kola nut, which was taken to family members and say, okay, Abdul and Paulette, they're together. Abdul and Paulette, they're together, and because of that relationship now, sadly, Paulette is no longer with us, and because Paulette is no longer with us, Abdul has assumed the post of the husband and is going to make all these decisions in terms of how Paulette is going to be laid to rest, either by the religious abuse, he calls the shots, the financial status, who gets what and who does not get what, in terms of the asset, what was ever that of Paulette, that Paulette owned in the house. And this is just what you call a fictional name I'm just using here. And the assets which were there, how that would be dispersed among families and loved ones. And you look at the children to say, okay, well, I will own the children. Nobody's thinking about in terms of how the children can benefit or live an amicable life for all families that are going to benefit, especially where there are grandchildren, grandparents, involved within there. How can they have a better, not necessarily equal sharing of the kids or access to the kids, but how can they have access to the kids that will also benefit their mindset, their mental health and well-being, so that they can be close to that thing, the person who they've lost, their own daughter, But we tend to see this Abdul person that has already just turned up 10 years. Yes, they've lived a life together, but there was no union that was recognized legitimately to ensure that he has the right to actually
make such decisions.
So he should be consulting, as I said to you off camera. You understand it? They should consult. They should have an open dialogue and say, well, obviously, let the family have an input which is either fairly, you understand, or to both parties, that would benefit from the religious context, from the cultural, the family, the moral, the financial, everything that you can put together. Get them involved. Just because you live together with somebody, when they passed away, does not mean that you have the ownership. And even, let's take away the narrative of cohabitants. Even sometimes, for those who are married couple, you will find the man will assume the position and authoritarian status to say, I will make decision holistically, and only what I informed you, what I decimate to you, is what you will go with or you will abide with. I will decide. I will take my wife to Africa. My wife has never been to Africa for 20 years, but that's where I'm going to go bury my wife. I will take my children to Africa. That's where I want them to go and live for now, because I want them to get an education in Africa. Children has never set foot in Africa, maybe once when they were 5 years old on holiday. Oh, by the way, the assets, I'm going to give it to friends around. which ones are these friends? Are those friends that are more aligned to you or aligned closely to you? You know what I mean? All of those decisions being made by one person who's a man that assumes, because the man is overwhelmed and feel that every decision that they're making at that point is right. We need to stop short and think. But there are support mechanisms.
And think, yes, that is correct, audience. In what you've just explained, when one is cohabiting and when one is married. Now, from what I mean, okay, there's something I want to look at here. When one is cohabiting and making those decisions, like you've just explained, would you say, now in the terms of cohabiting, like a boyfriend, even though they've lived for years, would you place that behavior as an abuse to the deceased?
I will say, obviously, in the context of the cohabiter and the married husband, in this context, you will see that there are disparities. You might say,
The married what I'm asking. Yeah, that's the married. Married, because married again. Yeah, if we look at married couples, I think culture has a lot to play with decision making there. Like, for example, like where I come from, if I marry to a man and the time comes for me to leave this earth, he literally has, like, in fact, the decision. It's like you married. So because we're still married, I will be buried in his compound, like in his own side of the family, not my side anymore. So he married me, married everything. So how I'm going to be buried, how everything, he is like going to be in charge. Whereas there are some culture, that will say, now death has separated the two of you. So the family of the deceased will come take their child to be buried in like back to your fatherland now, kind of thing. Back to your fatherland. So it's when it comes to marriage, also with properties as well, the husband, again, depend on the culture and the belief and everything, because one is married, everything that seems to be that the woman may have acquired in the process of the marriage, some culture will say it belongs to the man and the children and that, whereas some other family we said, no, our sister, when she was here, she did this. We are entitled to this. We are entitled to that. And also, where I come from again, just in case you are wondering, where did she come from? I'm from Nigeria, okay? I'm from Nigeria. I'm Igbo, so I'm just trying to allow us to look at when abuse is actually taking place and when abuse is not really taking place. In terms of spouse, you're living with somebody and that can, even in marriage, there's still abuse. Abuse happens also in marriage, especially when is the man that passed on. When is the man that passed on, the ones that happen, the wife, the family of the man, they come fighting for the properties, without considering the children, without looking at the future. They demand it, like, yes, you only have 2 daughters, you don't have a son, so you must leave the house. That is abuse. So there's somewhere we're going to end with this, because we're going somewhere with this one, and please just stay tuned with us, because you're going to get something from that. So now, another thing, now, having said all this, I think we have seen that there's obviously a lot involved, the abuse, the money aspect, the properties, the everything, so much is involved here. Now, the moral of this message today is like, how can we prevent this from happening? How can one prevent this?
Thank you very much for that. So how can we prevent this? What we do in an African culture, you cannot holistically eradicate any of this abuse to take place. And I want to use the word abuse because deliberately, because many people watching today who are Africanists or traditionalists will disagree with the two of us having this conversation to say, these people don't understand. It's culture. Now, that's the reason why I'm going to use the word to say, you cannot eradicate this completely. However, I agree with you. We can try to prevent it. We can mitigate this from happening by putting things in place. Ultimately, my advice, my take home from this is to ensure that we put our house in order. So if your house is in order, you are going, or you're taking a great steps in terms of mitigating the risk of abuse. You're taking a great step in terms of trying to prevent the risk of abuse taking place to you when you passed on. Because and putting things in order, we know as Africans, that thing which we say, oh, I want to put will together. It means if I'm a 45 or 47-year-old man, if I put my will together now, I will be passing on in the next 3 months. It's not. So we have that myth there. So we are too either reluctant or too scared or apprehensive, whatever we want to say, to put will in place together. And or even as older as some of our parents have got, they're still adamant not wanting to put a will together. Okay, fine. You don't want to have a will which you will write and so on and so forth. But have you done anything locally? You know, these days where technology is surrounding ourselves around, lock yourself up in a quiet room. Take your device, mobile phone, your cassette stereo, you record yourself. Say, my name is Abdul Wahab Seisay. I am DJ Little the Mozis. Today is the 10th of April and 2021. I want to record this message. Should I pass on? Please, I have 3 children and a wife. So if I passed on, my son, I would like him to have that. My daughters, I would like them to have that. My wife, I would like her to have that. If my parents are still alive and I passed on, please give my father that, give my mother that, give my stepfather and give my stepmother, and make that recording authentic. When you're finished, you say this is to confirm that I, Abdul Wahab Seisay, as known to the community as DJ Little the Mozis, I have confirmed that whatever has been recorded here is mine. And then you save it, you keep it, and then you tell somebody, one of your family, your child, your children, or whoever, a best friend that you trust, to say, I haven't written a will, but I have written or I have recorded an authenticated audio or a video which can be used as evidence. Should I pass on, I've made my decisions. And put that, and then you pass it on, and then you tell that friend or that family member, this is your right. You can play it when everybody sits down. Do you see where I'm going?
Wow.
If you make that decision, you've taken away 70-80%.
Yes. Of the abuse audience. This is amazing. I've watched movies, African movies, where there was so much fight on who gets what, especially when the family of the man came to take the properties, that they didn't know how this man, their brother, suffered. The only thing that saved the situation, the only thing that saved the situation was the videotape that the man left behind. That saved the whole situation, because the video couldn't have lied. So it was the man speaking and everything. And another thing again, that I know that one can do, if you're thinking that maybe somebody might find such video, you can also even put it in the bank. You can put it in a safe. You can put it in the bank. You can put it in the bank for safekeeping, you know, and just put the rules, like only my family will come to get it only when I pass on. And then just let the family know that you left something in the bank. Should anything happen, they can go there and, you know, or once the bank get the information, I don't know how this would work. Maybe if you make such thing as a will, maybe the bank would know once they get the information that one has passed away, then they contact the family to say there's something saved. Just like your money, when we passed on, I think once the bank know that somebody has passed away, the family go for the money, they can get all the money out if they prove, once they prove that this person that passed away is a bloodline, is a relative or related and everything. You have the right to take the whatever that the person have left. So it's quite a good one. Now, you've just touched the area I was going to touch. If somebody hasn't got what it takes to have a will, maybe they don't have enough to go to put on the will, or because I was going to ask alternatively, but you've just addressed that, you know. So it doesn't really necessarily have to be done professionally. Maybe because somebody might think it's expensive to try to write a will. This is one of the simplest, easiest way. You dress how you want. If you want to put a regale, dress as a king that day, you are right. You are saying, it's me talking. You know, this is how I want it. Whether you are my brother, you're my sister, this is what goes to who and where and how I want to spend. It's actually a good advice. Now, having this vision, do you have plans for, or plans to bring this vision to the wider audience? Because it's a very important topic.
Yes. The journey to 1,000 steps starts with one.
Yes.
The first step was taken a couple of weeks ago when the video came out, and we've now taken the second step. And I cannot see any reason why yourself and myself and we cannot team up together, because we're so passionate. We have stories to tell. I want to share that I had experience of this and how this has affected my family, where I lost my eldest sister, who was adopted by my mother at the age of 13 and tragically lost her life to breast cancer in the UK and I. And may her soul rest in peace. She's now 7 years on since she passed on. And I know how that, without going into detail, fragmented my family. And I know everything that I have cited today, based on which I mentioned earlier, the experiences that I gained, taught me the lessons I learned for me to become the person to either make correct, act or react over certain information in my hand. So, and I know how that was managed. I know how it had affected my family, my own mother on her mental health and well-being. I know the opportunities to not being able to have access to grandchildren that she dearly loved. You understand? I know how difficult that has been. I know how we as a family do not see it as a loss of one, but we saw it as a loss of three, because she left two daughters. So, and I know how the family members, like I said, because of decisions that were made by those who are alive in the interest of what they felt is interesting, the interest also of the deceased, but maybe wholly or solely wrong. But it also came down to the failure of the deceased to have anything in place, in the simple word we can say, putting your house in order to make sure those disputes, those abuse do not occur when you are gone, when you are passed on. So I know for the first hand, my own experience, which I have one or many to share, in how people and family lives have been shattered based on this. And many times there are two of the biggest losers here, and I want to make this very clear, Mr. Adam. Two of the biggest losers here are the children, if there is any child or children in the existence.
Unfortunately,
and secondly, if there is a surviving parent, be it a mother, be it a father, they are ultimately, those are the people that never get to move on easily. Even with the children, they go along. Children tend to play along until they become of age where they can make, and sometimes they had already been incarcerated in their mindset of how to think about the family members. Because if I, God forbid, was to pass on, information can be fed through my own children to making sure that the outer part of my family, if that's the family that I don't they don't want to be accepted, to look and appear and feel as if they were not the best when I was around. Do you understand? So we have to be very careful. So that's the reason why it's important that we have to take time and put our house in order. I cannot reinforce the message of putting your house in order, communicating with each other. And you made a very, very informed decision. Say, now, I am going to start talking to my kids about my passing on. I want them to know so that they can have that in their mindset. Why do the Caucasian family do it better than us? Why do Asian family do it better than us? Because they are not scared. They are not concerned about conversing about death and dying. African people are too worried we are too consumed about living and not thinking about dying. We are consumed, overwhelmed about my living will be forever, my dying will be for never. No, well, your dying, as I said in my piece, there are only one thing, which is certain, death. So if you have signed the contract to live on planet Earth, which you never know, by the way, but once you have stepped foot on Earth, the certain contract which you will sign, that you will be dead. So for that reason, discuss dying and prepare for dying, so that the abuse does not come onto you, that your soul will never rest.
Wow. Amazing. You have summed it up amazingly. You have summed it up greatly. One key word here is put your home together in order. Put your home in order. Start talking. Start telling. If we want this thing for sure, that death is certain, why afraid to discuss how you would want it? And this is why whenever my mind tells me something, comes to me like this, I sit my children, I say, come, you go and call your brother, you go and call your sister, sit down, something just came to me now, I need to say it. Sometimes they'll be like, what is it now? Is it about death? I say, no, not really, but I can't be here forever. That's a bomb. Stop saying things like that. But I have to say it. Something just came to me and I want to pass it on. Sometimes it could be advice, sometimes it could be words of wisdom, sometimes it's words of knowledge. I just pass it on. I said, because I may never be here. I may not be here tomorrow to give you this advice. So everybody sit down and I'll just say it. Maybe sometime 10, 15 minutes is done. I said, thank you I just want to say it. Everybody will go. You understand? So because I'm aware of that. That was when I saw your message, I'm like, no, listen, wider audience has to hear this. So thank you so much. Abdul, Wahab, Seisay. Yeah.
Seisay.
Okay. Seisay. Thank you so much for coming to share this such amazing. You rounded it up amazingly. Thank you so much, audience. I don't know about you, but I personally, I have learned so much. It's a pleasure to bring such an amazing topic to your doorsteps. So audience, thank you so much. I don't know about you, but I have taken so much from this knowledge. See, this is what I'm talking about here on TinaTalks show. You see, sometimes we work so hard thinking that what we need to leave behind is the properties, is the money, is the cars and things like that. You know what happens? From what I've learned from all these things is actually you're going to get abused when you are gone. So meaning that not all these are not important. Yes, we need them in the process while we are here on earth. But the most important thing is what my guests have just shared with us. Communication, what to communicate.